In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the water pump on this Ford Excursion with a 6.8 liter V10 engine. Located on the front of your engine, the fan is attached to it, so let's get started. At the bottom of the radiator, you'll see the petcock right here. It's got a 19mm plug. You can use a socket or a wrench on it, or even some pliers if that's what you have, and break it free. Make sure you have a collection bucket underneath ready to catch the fluid. Once you break it free, you should be able to remove this by hand. Don't pull it out all the way, just enough for the coolant to start draining, and we'll let this drain. If you pull it out all the way, it'll actually start shooting straight out the back, and you want to avoid that. To help the coolant drain faster, remove the cap off of the overflow. That'll relieve any vacuum that is being pulled by the coolant draining and let the air go in. Let's just wait for it to drain now. Now that this is done draining, let's close it off, bottom it out by hand, and when you tighten it up with your wrench, just give it a quick snug, about 1/8 of a turn after it bottoms out. That's all you need. This is just a plastic plug and you don't want to break it. Let's remove the fan clutch off of the water pump. The mounting nut is right here. You'll need an air chisel with a 1 7/8 wrench on it. We're just going to slide it on there. Just give it a couple taps. Like the whole water pump is spinning, which sometimes happens. Now, what I'm going to try to do, if this doesn't break free this time, is put a 1/2-inch drive wrench, or ratchet, on the tensioner and apply some extra tension to the belt. And make sure you're going counterclockwise. That's how you add more pressure to the belt. There we go. That did it. So, that's the trick. Take your tool out. And now, as you can see, this spins independently off the water pump. So let's take the belt off and then we'll continue with this. Now reaching in from the top, use a 1/2-inch drive ratchet or breaker bar. Stick it right on the end of the tensioner, which is between the fan and the engine. You're going to want to make sure that that's actually seated in there so you can put some pressure on it. And now turn clockwise as you're looking at the engine, or press down if you're from the top, and remove the belt from anything that you can slip it off of so that we can release tension off the tensioner. Gently release tension. There we go. Remove your tool. Let's remove the rest of the belt now. Take it off of all the pulleys. To get it off the AC, you're going to have to sneak your hand down here and pull it off of the compressor. But then it actually comes out between the tensioner and the idler pulley. Okay, set that aside. Let's finish removing the fan and fan clutch assembly. Careful when it comes off the threads so it doesn't fall down completely and hit the radiator and potentially damage it. I'm holding on to it. There we go. Now you don't have to remove it, but I'm just going to stick it right in here. Let's remove the pulley off of the water pump. Use a 10mm socket or wrench and break all these free. If you don't have a power tool that fits in here, what you can do to break them free by hand, and actually even with a power tool sometimes it's necessary, you can stick a pry bar or screwdriver right in between one that is still in and the threads here. That'll prevent this from spinning, and then you can break these free and remove them. Okay, last one. Use a pry bar, gently pry the pulley off of the water pump. Sometimes it gets seized on here, and once you push it a little bit with a pry bar, you should be able to get it off. Now if you need to, you can spin it around so you can pry on the other side. Just use these bolts that hold the water pump on. There we go. Take this off, inspect it. If it's in poor condition for whatever reason, you're going to want to replace it. Set that aside. Now you can see all the bolts for the water pump. This one, by the way, make sure you don't take this out. This is for the timing cover. This right here is for the water pump. They're all 10 millimeter in size. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th on the bottom that you can't really see, but I can feel it right here. Let's break all these bolts free and then remove them. Make sure that you don't break any of them off or round them off. They can be fairly tight and corroded in there. Have a collection bucket ready, because no matter how much you drain the coolant, there will still be coolant coming out of the water pump when you remove it. All right, there's one. Second and third. They're all the same, by the way, so no need to keep them separate. And there's the last one. Now we just have to break the water pump free from the engine block. There's an O-ring around it. That's what helps it seal up. And as expected, it is somewhat stuck on here. So you could do this multiple different ways. You could try to hit it with a hammer if you have something that fits in here, or use a pry bar. When you pry, be very careful. Try to pry around the top, not so much on the timing cover, because being aluminum, you can easily damage it. And of course, have that collection bucket underneath ready to catch the fluid. I'm going to start out with a pry bar back here on this ear of the water pump. It is also useful to sometimes have something like a large punch of some sort and just tap on the end of it. There it goes. All right. There's the water pump. Now let's do some cleanup here so that the new water pump can seal up properly. First, I'm going to soak up all of the old coolant that's here with a rag, and then I'm going to use a wire wheel and just clean off this lip where the O-ring seats. That way, it can seal up nice and tight. You can also use a little bit of sandpaper if that's what you have, or just whatever will fit in here. That'll do a good job of cleaning up without destroying this surface. You don't want to gouge it. Let's wipe the area down once you're done cleaning. Make sure there's not any excessive corrosion in here. And let's get the new water pump in. On the new water pump, install the new O-ring around the base of it. Just roll it over. Make sure it's seated. You could also put a little bit of coolant on the edge of it. That's going to help it slide into the engine block easier. Now bring the water pump in carefully and line it up. You're going to want the two bolts that are further apart to be on the bottom you want this weep hole on the top. That's how you're going to line this up. Just like that. And press it in all the way. Stick the bolts in, and it's not always ideal to drive this in with the bolts, but I don't really have another choice here. I'm going to just be very careful that the O-ring doesn't actually rip or fold over, but rather slides into the groove as I tighten these bolts up. With all of them in place, let's snug them up in a cross pattern, kind of one at a time, so that we can seat this fully. With all of these bottomed out, let's torque them. 18 foot-pounds is the torque for all of these bolts. All right, those are all torqued. I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on the part that drives the pulley on this water pump. This way it doesn't seize up in the future. Take the pulley and line it up, slide it over the water pump. The tricky part now is going to be lining up all the bolts because you can't really see them. All right, I got one lined up. Once you get one lined up, try to bottom it out. That'll hold that pulley on, and it's going to be a whole lot easier to get the other ones in. Snug these up. All right, once you're sure that they're all snugged up and the pulley's seated, let's give them a little extra. I'm going to stick a pry bar right through here so I can hold the pulley, prevent it from spinning as I tighten these. About 1/8 of a turn after these bottom out is plenty tight. Let's get the fan and fan clutch back on. Line it up, and it's easiest if you just spin the water pump, trying to get these threads lined up. And there we go, that just caught on. Nope, that bottomed out. We'll just wait to fully tighten it with that air chisel adapter until the belt is on. That way it can hold it on tighter. Let's reinstall the belt. You'll see a diagram on the screen of how to route it. You want to feed it between the idler and the tensioner first around the AC compressor. And once you get it down there, you'll actually have to stick your hand in there and loop it around. It's going to kind of naturally want to fall around that AC compressor. Just double check it visually to make sure it's actually on there. And then I like to take the top of the belt and hold it while I feed the rest of the belt down underneath the crank and around the tensioner, of course. At the same time, I'm going to loop it around the water pump. And of course, I have to route it around that harmonic balancer crank pulley. Just like that. And then grab it from the other side and pull it around. I don't want to keep falling off of other pulleys. That's unfortunately normal. All right, that just seated on there. It's still on the AC compressor. So now the second to last pulley is going to be the power steering pump, which is on the right side as you're looking at the front of the engine all the way down. Don't put it on the alternator yet, because otherwise you won't be able to pull it over the tensioner. Just hold it at the top so it doesn't fall down. Okay, so that's on the power steering. Let's remove tension off the tensioner, put it up on the alternator. Let's get your 1/2-inch drive tool in the tensioner, release tension, pull it down, or push it down I should say. Slip this over the alternator. Before you let go of this and remove your tool, make sure the belt is perfectly centered on all of the pulleys, especially the ribbed ones, because if one rib is off, it's going to do damage to the belt. It could even cut it, and then it'll go flying, and you definitely want to avoid that. This all looks great for me, so let's move along. Once the belt is on, let's snug up the fan clutch, put your tool back on it, and give it a couple taps with the air chisel. That should be plenty tight. It's time to fill the cooling system, so we're going to fill it up through the tank. Now, what you want to do is refer to your owner's manual to find out the appropriate type of coolant that your vehicle needs, and then you're going to want to fill it and continue until not only does it reach the max line, but it stops bubbling through the tank. That means most of the air is naturally purged out of the system. At that point, you're going to want to start the engine, let it run, and the water pump will circulate the coolant, pushing out all the air and pulling in all the coolant. The level will drop, so add as needed. Also have the heat on the highest heat setting, but with the blower on low. If your vehicle has rear HVAC as well, do the same over there so you can feel the heat through the heater core, because if you have no heat, most likely you have air in the heater core, so it still needs to be bled. If you feel heat, once the engine reaches operating temperature, you're good to go. Shut it down, let it cool off, top it off if needed, and then take it for a road test. With everything done, tighten up the cap, and there you have it.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.